Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about setting up base timing and how you timing check an engine. Now the ECU, like I said in the triggering article, needs to have a very good understanding of the engine's angle, because that's how it determines when to fire the ignition. And setting base timing is a crucial part of the ECU setup and tuning process. So first of all, you have to have timing marks on the engine to be able to do this. So many engines, especially older ones, have got these on the engine from factory. Sometimes they're in funny locations. For example, on the FD RX-7 it's at 20 degrees after top dead center. So you have to do your homework with the factory service manual to find out where they are. If there's no timing mark on the factory pulley, then you'll need to make one. Now the way you have to do this is by pulling out spark plug number 1 and rotating the engine by hand and find out when the piston gets to the top. Now if you've got a twin cam engine and the piston's moving vertically, then you can put a screwdriver into the hole and use that to push on a dial gauge, and that will get it to within a degree or so. If it's not that sort of an engine, or you don't have a dial gauge, then you can do it by screwing a bolt into the spark plug hole so that it just touches the piston when it's at TDC, or close to TDC rather. Then you mark that position on the crank pulley, then rotate the engine backwards until it just touches the bolt from the other side, and then mark that position. Then TDC is halfway in between those positions. Thanks to Bradley Smith for that trick. Now, to time an engine accurately, you need to be able to have it running by itself and idling smoothly. You'll also need a timing light. The dumber and more basic, the better. You definitely don't want anything that's going to do anything smart, retarding ignition timing or anything like that. If you do have one of those fancy ones, then make sure you switch that all off so it just gives a flash when it detects the spark. Now on coil-on plug engines, there's no ignition lead, so you can't clip the magnetic pickup onto the ignition lead. In most cases, I've found that you can clip the pickup onto the back of the coil in the same direction that it would go if it was an ignition lead going to a spark plug. That is with the arrow on the pickup pointing towards the coil and all the wires to the back of the coil going through that loop. Now this works the same as connecting it to an ignition lead because of Kirchhoff's current law. Now I've never seen this not work for me, but if it doesn't work, then the other thing you can do is you can remove the coil, run an ignition lead between the coil and the plug and clip it onto that. Now on some Nissans they have a timing loop which you're supposed to be able to put a timing light on to check the ignition timing. I'd say be very careful about this because on many timing lights, it doesn't actually give you the correct timing if you do it. It measures the start of the pulse instead of the end of the pulse, and you'll find that you can do that and then timing will change when you increase the RPM, and furthermore the timing is actually going to be retarded of where it is supposed to be. Now to set up the timing lock in the software, in Eugene go to inputs and then triggering and then enable the timing lock. You need to select a value for the timing lock angle, and this has to be an angle at which the engine will run happily and also which you have a corresponding mark for on the engine. So if you only have a TDC mark, then you'll have to enter the value as 0. If you've got a rotary, then you can select the 13B timing lock mode, and that will fire the leading plugs at 5 degrees after top dead center and the trailing plugs at 20 degrees after top dead center, which correspond with the factory markings. If you're using the FFE trigger on a rotary, that actually has the mark at 0 degrees, not at -5 or -20. So using an FFE trigger, you'll need to use the normal timing lock mode and set the timing lock to be 0. Then you can check the ignition timing using a timing light and adjust the base angle on the ignition setting to get that to line up. You should also increase the revs and make sure that the timing stays still. Thanks very much.